You know how winning companies always seem to make the right moves? Well, today we're going to peek behind the curtain. We're taking all that dense textbook stuff on corporate strategy and turning it into a practical playbook, breaking down exactly how the best in the business compete and win.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about the most important thing you have to do before anything else, setting a really clear objective. Then we'll crack open the strategist's playbook and look at all the different moves you can make. After that, we'll get to the core choice, how you decide to compete. And finally, we'll look at the three main ways you can actually make it all happen. Do you build, borrow, or buy?
All right, first things first. Before you make a single move, you have to know where you're going. A winning organization needs a destination. Seriously, without any long-term goals, a company is just adrift. It's reacting to whatever the day throws at it instead of actually shaping its own future. It's a difference between having a map and a rudder or just being lost at sea.
So what happens when there's no clear plan? Well, it's way more common than you might think. Most organizations that lack a clear strategy, they tend to fall into one of four really reactive patterns. And these are the exact traps that a real strategist knows how to avoid.
Yeah, these traps actually form an acronym, CHEMP. That stands for crisis, hope, extrapolation, and mystery. Managing by crisis is just firefighting, only dealing with what's burning down right now. Hope is, well, it's just wishing things will work out. Extrapolation is that classic, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mindset, which is a killer in a changing world. And mystery, that's when nobody even knows what the plan is. This isn't a strategy, it's just a recipe for chaos.
So the antidote to all that chaos, it's having a set of clear, long-term objectives. And look, these are not some vague, fuzzy wishes. We're talking about measurable, understandable goals that get the entire organization, from the CEO all the way down to the front lines, pulling in the exact same direction.
Okay, so you've got your objective. You know your destination. Now, how are you going to get there? It's time to open up the strategist's playbook. Think of these as the fundamental moves, a menu of options that any company can use to get ahead of the competition.
First up, we have integration strategies. The best way to think about this is expanding your control over the entire game board. This is all about taking charge of your suppliers, your distributors, or maybe even your competitors.
And you can integrate in three basic directions. You can move forward, which means getting closer to your actual customer. Think about Nike opening its own retail stores. You can move backward, which means controlling your supply chain, like Boeing deciding to make its own parts. Or you can move horizontally, which is when you just buy out the competition, like Nestle did with Sweet Earth.
Now, if integration is all about expanding your territory, the next set of moves, intensive strategies, are about digging deeper, right where you already are. This is all about putting more muscle, more effort behind the products you already have to win bigger in the markets you're already in.
And there are really three core ways to do this. There's market penetration. That's just selling more of your current stuff to your current customers. There's market development. That's taking the stuff you already make to new places, new cities, new countries. And then there's product development. That's creating new things for the customers who already love you.
But what if your main market is just tapped out? Or what if you spot a massive opportunity in a totally different field? Well, that's when you might consider diversification. This is the big leap into a new business. Definitely high risk, but also potentially high reward.
You know, this move used to be super popular, but it's a tricky one. The famous strategist Michael Porter, he put it perfectly. He warned that many companies that diversified too much, too quickly, found they couldn't manage the beast. It's a powerful play for sure, but man, it can backfire if you don't have the right skills.
Okay, let's be real. Not all strategies are about growth and attacking. Sometimes strategy is just about survival. When a company is in real trouble, it needs to know how to play defense, how to stop the bleeding, and hopefully turn things around.
And playing defense means making some really tough choices. It might start with retrenchment. That means getting leaner, cutting costs, reducing assets. If that's not enough, a company might move to divestiture, which is selling off entire chunks of the business. And the absolute last resort, the final move, is liquidation, selling everything off and closing the doors for good. So, with all these different moves in the playbook, how does a company choose its fundamental approach? This is where the legend Michael Porter comes back in. He argued that it all boils down to one of two generic strategies. This is really the core philosophical choice every single business has to make.
And it really comes down to this. You either win on cost or you win on being different. Are you going to be the absolute cheapest option out there? Or are you going to be so unique, so special, that people are willing to pay a premium for what you offer? One path is about ruthless efficiency. The other is about creativity and brand. And Porter's big warning was that trying to be both is often a recipe for getting stuck in the middle and failing.
This then gets broken down even further based on who you're targeting. Are you going after a huge, broad market or a small, narrow, focused one? This creates 4 clear strategic positions. Are you a broad cost leader for everyone, like Walmart, or a focused cost leader for a niche, like Dollar General? Are you a broad differentiator for the masses, like Apple, or a focused differentiator for a very specific luxury buyer, like Maserati? Okay, so you've chosen your competitive edge. You know if you're going to be cheap or different, broad or focused. Now for the million-dollar question, how do you actually get the resources and the skills to pull it off? Well, there are 3 primary paths you can take. You can build the capabilities you need yourself, from the ground up. This is organic growth. It might be slow, but you have total control. Or you can borrow them by partnering up with another company. This is faster, but you have to share the rewards. Or you can just buy the capabilities outright by acquiring a company that already has them. That's the quickest path, but it's often the most expensive and the most risky.
That borrow route very often looks like a joint venture. You can just think of it as a strategic team-up. It's perfect for those huge, super expensive projects where 2 companies can do something together that neither one of them could possibly do alone. They share the risk and they share the reward.
Now, inside that buy strategy, there's this really fascinating move called a leveraged buyout, or an LBO. This is when a company's own management team gets together with some investors to buy their own company, and they do it mostly with borrowed money. It's a bold move for sure.
So, there it is. That's the blueprint. Whether you're running a massive company or just managing your own career, the principles are exactly the same. First, define your objective. Know what's in your playbook. Choose your competitive edge. And then, decide if you're going to build, borrow, or buy the things you need to win. At the end of the day, every choice is a strategy. So, what's yours?